overflow comes from a tiny stressor, right? Like
Absolutely.
somebody can ask you to do something and you lose your Good evening, everybody. Excuse me. We are back. Sarah and I am just going to get Sarah to join us. Everyone's had a good couple of weeks. We've been busy away. Sarah has joined me.
Hello.
Oh, hello. There you are. You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm good, thank you. Sarah's moved house.
I have.
Yay! Congratulations.
I've got a new wall.
Yay! How has it been? Oh, well, I mean, it's quite apt, our topic this week, right? Because
Totally right.
we're talking about alcohol. Hi, Louise. Have a great Sunday. We're talking about alcohol and stress. And I mean, we all know that moving house is one of the most stressful things we can do. And you've just done it alcohol-free, right?
Right. I think I got 18 months on Wednesday or Thursday. I was like, woohoo! Amazing.
So how did you find moving house with...
Absolutely fucking horrifying.
I mean, you haven't moved from you were in your last house for quite a while, right?
20 years, right?
That's a long time. Yeah. It must be quite cleansing as well to have left that behind and come.
Yeah, it is. I sat on, so I moved on, it'll be 2 weeks on Wednesday, which seems like impossible. It's been so long. I mean, it's not long, but you know. And I sat on the Sunday before I moved, watching some shit reality TV, your poor house, rich house, poor house. Which is kind of how it feels, right? Kind of. And I sat there and I started blubbing. And I was just like, oh my God, this house holds so much trauma. You know, I've had a relationship breakdown. I've had lots of parties there and lots of drinking and stuff. And I was sat there and I thought, God, I really feel as though this is enabling me to just, you know, nearly 18 months. Well, I didn't know the 18 months at the time, but it's been a significant amount of time, relatively speaking, to be sober. And this really is enabling me to kind of move forward and leave stuff behind.
Yeah, it's a
really
physical and emotional, like literal step out of that environment, and you get to create your own new environment that is all new neural pathways, all new memories to be made, all new, like your nervous system feeling completely different in a new environment.
Yeah, and when I came to this house, I've been quite lucky in the fact that I was able to move over the course of 2 weeks. So I was able to kind of get things in bit by bit, it still felt the first couple of nights still like I was staying over in someone else's house. But now I feel the kind of peace I've been carrying around in terms of my sobriety internally. I now feel that externally. And I looked at some like kind of, I can't remember what they're called, but you know, the wheels of life where you do the assessment. What's they called? I'll never remember. Is it called life wheel?
Wheel of life. I think you got it right there.
And I looked at that, and my environment was always really low down, but I didn't feel able to do anything about it. So I kept always scoring a 4. You know, yes, it was safe. Yes, it was stable. Yes, it was this. Yes, it was that. But actually, in terms of the other stuff that go with my environment, you know, do I feel able to invite people around, or do I feel able to be proud of that, you know, or whatever. Now I can feel, now, like I had a couple of people around here for lunch today, and I was like, oh yeah, come in,
step into this new,
you know. So it's great. It was great.
When we moved house, we might get round to kind of that story of what's happened with us in the last kind of 4 years in terms of stress. But I know when we moved into this house, and my daughter saw somebody for managing stress, and we were told that it takes 2 years to truly feel at home in your new environment.
For 2 weeks now.
Yeah, and it is
Yeah.
strange because, you know, everything, like you say, it
Yeah.
feels like you're staying in somebody else's house to start off with.
Yeah.
So it really does. When I think back to how alien this house felt for us to start off with, and it's like you're playing house, and then all of a sudden you don't even realise it, bit by bit by bit. It just becomes your new normal and becomes your complete safe haven. And it's so important. We talk about the hierarchy of needs, and, you know, that real, yes, as you say, a safe environment, fine, but a safe environment that you can have space to breathe, that you can relax in, that can be set up as your own kind of retreat, basically. It's supposed to be your safe, your very safe space.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was, I had my little Buddha in my hand, and it's been in this, like, Buddha's been in chaos for the last 20 or 18 and a half years, 19 years. And and then the friend that came over for lunch bought me another Buddha today. And I was like, okay, and when I put my other kind of Buddha in the garden, I was like, actually, this does feel like he belongs here. Yeah. It's not just, I don't just snigger at him as I go out and think, fucking hell, what are you doing here?
Poor Buddha, I'm really sorry.
Sorry, mate, you're in the wrong place, wrong time.
Oh, well, Buddha will be happy. Congratulations. So, we're talking about stress and alcohol. And I always feel like this is one of the biggest kind of limiting beliefs in people giving up alcohol, is that idea that how do I cope with my stress if I don't have alcohol? Is that numbing out effect that we're seeking at the end of the day. And it's so often one of the points of reoccurrence for people is that they simply want to escape. Like, life is too much. I just need to escape my mind. I need to escape my reality for a certain amount of time. So Sarah, take me back a bit with you, because when you gave up alcohol, or when you were drinking, you were working in a really stressful job as well, right? And you were, correct me if I'm wrong, but you ended up kind of suffering from burnout as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, badly. Okay. Yeah, I was having panic attacks, kind of sitting outside work, and then in the end, it ended up with me not being able to leave the house because I was vomiting through anxiety.
Yeah.
On medication, sat on the sofa, spilling gravy down my top for a couple of years, disappearing. Feeling like I just had no way out of that. It was really, really difficult.
Did anyone ever suggest to you to take a break from drinking? The doctors?
No, of course not.
Isn't that a shame?
Yeah, isn't it? I did try, because when I first started taking my medication, which was sertraline and propranolol, when I drank on them, I was so sick.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was horrendous. But then, of course, like everything else, your body adapts, right?
Your tolerance changes.
Yeah, your tolerance changes. I was able then to drink on that medication. No one suggested I took a break from alcohol.
No. It is strange that people don't, that the medical profession, I mean, I've had actually people tell me you should have a drink, and I've had so many people whose therapists, chill, have a drink, relax in the evenings, and it's actually going to help you. Nobody has ever suggested to me that maybe not drinking is the way forward. And I think that's such a shame, because I think we'll talk a little bit about what stress actually is, and how alcohol impacts the body with regards to stress, and other factors, that are other action steps we can put in place instead of alcohol. But it's one of the key points. I'm an exercise physiologist. We used to say, like, exercise, sleep, diet, all three of those go together. But for me, they only go together if sobriety is in the middle of those. We cannot do any of those well if we are still drinking. So it's an interesting thing with burnout. So we see this like across all walks of life, and actually people in the healthcare profession are one of the worst, because it's highly stressful, and they tend to lean on alcohol to de-stress at the end of the day. It's such a normal thing. In terms of stress, actually stress gets a really bad rap, but stress is a brilliant thing. It's how much stress we have. So if we could chart stress, if we think of it of like working a muscle in the gym, too little stress like no stress at all. So if you think of when we're depressed and we're sat on the sofa and we're not doing anything, there's a certain amount of atrophy. We like lose our strength. If we are at the sweet spot of stress, which is eustress, where we're possibly in relationships or we've got healthy relationships around us, we're in something that's creative, we're in a job that we really like, or even if the job's not what we really like, we're able to be creative out of that. We've got projects that are on the go, we're doing sports that we enjoy, we grow. If we have too much stress, and that can be good things and bad things, right? We risk disease, burnout, dysfunction, and distress. So yeah, burnout, disease, especially in women, autoimmune diseases, and dysfunction, leaning on alcohol, thinking that this is giving us what we need, which of course alcohol temporarily does. So when you were suffering from burnout, or even before you were suffering from burnout, talk to me about how you were using alcohol. Was this like at the end of the day, oh, I get to drink?
Absolutely. And I although I feel that now that it was just completely ironic and hypocritical and kind of, I'm so culpable. But I still see the humour in it. I would come away from working with people who are physically dependent on alcohol all day and be like, oh my God, I really need to go for a pint.
Yeah.
And then go for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pints. And I guess the thing is when you're drinking is that you don't actually deal with the stress.
No.
Isn't it?
You're kicking it down the road. You're kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, right, you see. And so I think the thing with sobriety is that the stress is still there. You still have stressful situations, of course. There's no magic wand for that, right?
No.
Moving house is stressful, new jobs, all these stresses, they don't disappear. But I guess what is different is that, for me at least, what would typically happen before is that I would not deal with the small stresses because I could drink those away. And then those small stresses would build up and things would snowball. And so I had a big stress, at which point I'd become so overwhelmed and so unable to then deal with that massive stress because it was just too big. And I had no ability to navigate the emotions around those stresses. Just 1 second. No ability to navigate the emotions around those stresses. It would just all become too much.
Yeah. So I'm going to do my little demonstration of exactly why that is, right? So if we think of ourselves like a cup, and we have a certain amount of volume in us, and what you're describing, like stress, as I said, stress is not necessarily bad things, right? Getting up out of bed is a stress, brushing our teeth is a stress, getting the kids breakfast is a stress, going to work is a stress. And they're kind of small stresses. We can put those in our cup, and we only have a certain amount of capacity for stress. We can empty the stress right out the bottom, but it needs to be relative to the amount that we're putting in. If we do something like move house, that's a huge stress that fills the cup up. If we get divorced, if we've got relationship problems, if we lose our job, all those kind of things are huge. And what you just described there, sometimes actually the overflow comes from a tiny stressor, right? Like somebody can ask you to do something and you lose your shit, or the kids say, Mum, I need you to sign this in the morning, and it would put me over the top. It's overspill. It's like that, just one bit too much, and to the outside world it looks like you are overreacting and you're out of control, but actually it's just that your cup is completely full and you have no capacity. When we don't drink, because for many different factors which we'll get into, we are consistently emptying that cup. So even when people are putting more stress in, or we're allowing more stress in, we're able to deal with it. We've got capacity still in our cup to deal with it.
Absolutely. And, those stresses that I used to deal with by going for a pint, now I'm dealing with them on an everyday basis.
Yeah.
So the small stresses, I'm processing mostly processing the emotions that go with them. and I'm able to get rid of them before they become so massive. And the last month has been a whirlwind in terms of moving and all the things that have surrounded that. It's been very stressful, but I wouldn't have done it if I was drinking.
No.
I wouldn't be in this position now if I was drinking.
Yeah.
Because I'd have just left it until it got to, I wouldn't have dealt with it.
Well, and as you
So it got to
say,
the crisis point.
so when we think, well, alcohol is helping us de-stress, what it's not. What alcohol is doing is sedating us temporarily.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's all
It's
it
numbing
does.
us,
Like,
yeah.
from a very base level, it just sedates us. It is a depressant. It's an upper and a downer with alcohol. It's that lovely, the two things at once, quite unique in that way. And it literally sedates us. And the issue with that is that our GABA and our serotonin is naturally, our baseline is lowered. So we think that it's de-stressing us, but actually what it's doing, by the time the alcohol wears off, we're not producing any of that ourselves. So our baseline drops. We wake up in the morning and we're more stressed, we're more anxious, we haven't slept, we're not lowering our cortisol levels, but yet we have this belief that it's helping us.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's also changed for me in sobriety, and we talked about it the last time you and I did a live, was the boundaries. And I think, by really working on my boundaries and my ability to say no, I've really decreased what I'm prepared to take on, which of course decreases my stress.
Well, and I really do think when we look at our cross section of our group, right, everyone is a people pleaser. Everybody is the go-to person for everybody else, and I mean that's true. Really, a lot of mums, a lot of women take on so many different tasks. Yes, it's brilliant that we get to go to work and we get to like smash through these glass ceilings. We haven't left the other role behind. So we're doing more and more, and we're in a world now where there's notifications on all the time. We're supposed to be accessible 24 hours. We're supposed to get back to friends and family and colleagues instantly, all those kind of things. We're looking at the news all the time, and actually that's just way too much. As soon as we kind of remove alcohol and we start to set these boundaries for ourselves, for our friends, for our family, for our colleagues, then yes, we instantly can lower our stress levels. It seems, the people pleaser thing in us is quite difficult to let go of, and saying no at the beginning of, I'm sorry, well, as I said, I don't ever say I'm sorry. No, I have enough on my plate. I have as much on my plate as I like right now. Just instantly, it's like, not my circus, not my monkeys. I get to carry on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's been that's been quite difficult for me in terms of the self-care aspect of it, in that showing myself compassion and showing myself kindness, and not being so bloody hard on myself has been really quite difficult. So that kind of acknowledgement, actually, no, I'm not able to take more on. At the moment, I have all that I can have on my plate. So, no, I'm not able to do that.
And I always think with this, we don't have to justify our time to anybody else either. If our plate isn't full, it's half full, and we get to go and sit on the sofa for the other half of it. That is also okay. We don't have to fill up our time with everybody else. And that, and again, we're kind of gets this, but that point of the rest, that downtime is so important in emptying our cup. That is the only way we do it. If we keep on and we keep on and we keep on, just because we can do something, is it right for us? Probably not.
Yeah, absolutely.
In terms of stress resilience, alcohol is 100% the devil, right? Like, it has no place in helping us with our stress levels. And I mean, in women, especially, as I said, our autoimmune diseases, dealing with too much stress tends to lead to autoimmune inflammation, but also coronary heart disease is the biggest killer in women. It's the top killer. If you add the top 3 cancers all together, coronary heart disease kills more women. And I really, really believe, from a you know, my career in the gym, I really, really believe it's mostly stress that does that to people. So it's so important to think about lifestyle changes. Alcohol for sure. As I said, we have this kind of thing, oh, but alcohol helps me sleep. And sleep is when we lower the cortisol levels. But alcohol does not allow you to sleep well. So
No.
sleep is really important. But yeah, going back to that, our plate is as full as we like it, because rest is so important.
Yeah.
That is the way that we can. Does rest feel comfortable to you?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
I mean, I know it does. I know that I'm busy. I'm busy. You know, I am busy. But during the moving session, that kind of time, I was like, I know that I need to stop. I can't stop at the moment
Yes.
because my two sons were absolutely bloody useless. Like, I was like, can you just put those socks in a bag? Which socks? I'm like,
Which bag?
you know,
Yeah.
please pick up your own stuff and put it in a bag. And I think I, I can be very, very lazy. Um, I'm busy when I need to be busy, and I can be very lazy. When I was moving, I did not stop. I was decorating, I was cleaning, you know,
Yeah.
packing, unpacking, shifting furniture, blah blah blah. And then when got here, and I had to wait for my internet to be installed on the Monday, and it was the first time I was in the house on my own, and the kids had gone to school, and I was like, you really, you can stop.
Yeah.
You can stop psychologically, you can stop emotionally, you can stop physically. And I stood in the middle of the dining room in the new house, and I was like, just stop.
Yeah.
You can stop. You don't. It's okay. It's done.
Yeah. It's quite interesting, isn't it, that sometimes it's like a new skill that needs to be learned, to give ourselves
Totally.
permission to stop and rest,
Yeah.
especially when we are in the midst of something. But it's so super important. It's that shift in mindset of, have I rested enough to work well, rather than
Yeah.
have I worked enough to earn my rest.
Yeah.
Actually, if we prioritize rest, then we have the capacity to deal with more stress. I think back to my own kind of story in it. I mean, definitely for sure, just when I was drinking, it was very much like that mummy wine culture of, the stress of the kids was reason enough to have a drink.
But the
Um,
stress to have my eyes open was reason enough to
yeah,
have a drink.
I mean, just everything, whatever. It was one of those things. But when I think about what I've been through since I stopped drinking, I always think, thank goodness I don't drink. And
Yeah.
so for those that don't know, my family and I was married to my husband for 20 years, and after like 15 years or so, he started to experience like mental health issues. And so we lived in the household for about 10 years where you're constantly walking on eggshells because you didn't know which version you're going to get. So I was somebody who never ever suffered from stress, really. And then all of a sudden, my body was continuously in fight or flight. That impacted my kids. My one daughter was passing out. We talk about fight or flight or fawn or flop. She would literally be stressed and pass out every month without fail for about 2 years. And it was when I realized the impact of the stress was that we couldn't carry on like this. For me, stress looked like, first of all, it looked like losing a huge amount of weight, and then it looked like gaining a huge amount of weight. Um, and that's okay, right? Like, I got through the period. Weight will come and go. It's not the be all and end all. It also looked like a huge amount of hair loss as well, like my
Wow.
hair just falling out all the time, and I could feel it in my body all the time. But we moved to this house. So we moved house, and my husband attempted suicide after 7 weeks and left us in we ended up in a house that had, it was a complete renovation project that he was supposed to do. So he was in and out of hospital whilst we were in a house that had no heating, no plumbing, no kitchen, no toilet, nothing, 3 kids. So to say it was stressful was an understatement. And him in and out of psychiatric hospital with numerous kind of suicide attempts. And of course, with him, with a support team, and I sound really cold when I talk about this because I was really compassionate, and then through stress, like I get very fatigued over that compassion because he had a support team and really we didn't here. And anyone that is living either with somebody with addiction or somebody with mental health problems, I always like reach out because I can signpost you to support groups for those that are living with that. But it's an incredibly stressful situation. Yeah. And numerous amount of times I have people say to me, it's a shame you don't drink. It's a shame that you can't just have a drink. It's a shame you can't just take the edge off. Or it's a shame you can't have a joint. Why don't you just have a joint? And I actually think that my sobriety is what was my superpower through those times. Like, it helped me continue to sleep well despite everything that was going on. It helped me to seek help when I needed it. It helped me to stay grounded for the kids. It helped me not to do anything irrational. And it helped me to realize that I had to prioritize. I went from working out and being very healthy to passing out whilst I was working out. And then I stopped and said, actually, my body is telling me I cannot handle the stress. I need to prioritize rest. And for anyone that's like suffering from high stress levels, first of all, stop drinking. Secondly, prioritize rest, right? Like, yeah. I did that for 2 or 3 years. Like you, I did the things I needed to do, and then I rested. And that was all I could do for 2 or 3 years, and that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think during this last month, my anxiety, I've been quite anxious. I've been like, oh my God, I remember sitting there thinking, but I'd moved nearly everything into the house apart from the sofa, the fridge, and the TV. And like the last few days we were living between the two houses, I was like, it's all going to fall through. I'm going to get a lot to change. I'm going to lose my books. Like, totally. I'm so anxious. And I'd get into bed at night and think, I'm so anxious. I bet I can't sleep.
Yeah.
You know, I'd be so anxious like, about being so anxious.
I remember my husband's psychologist saying to me, how are you sleeping? And I was like, actually, like a baby. She must have thought, oh, there's something wrong with me. She's like, we can give you tablets if you need. And, you know, with his experience, they work for lots and lots of people and it's brilliant. I have so much fear around that. And I'm like, no, I actually am sleeping really well. And thank goodness, because as I say, on a physiological level, I know that sleep is the most important thing for us. What other tools then do you lean on to help with your stress if you're stressed out? You said boundaries is a massive one, right?
Boundaries is a huge one. Recognizing it. I think this is a bit about boundaries, but it's also a bit about acceptance, I think. And acceptance has been a major part of my sobriety journey. You know, I've had to. I think lots of people, most people will have memories and situations that arose when they were drinking that they probably think, okay, that could have been a little less embarrassing, or that could have been a bit better, or, you know, less demeaning, or whatever. And I think what I've really had to work on is to get rid of those feelings of regret and shame, and really work on acceptance. And so I think what's been really key for me is to say, these are the things. It's that poem, isn't it? Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to what I can, and then the strength to, you know. And I think that has really been not that poem necessarily, but that's really been a part of my journey, is acknowledging what it is that I can actually change. What is it that's worth getting stressed about, actually? And sitting down and making a list. Okay, what in this can I do something about? And if I can do something about it, what can I do? It is what I can do within my means. If it isn't, and I'm able to make that happen. If I can't make that happen, then why am I worrying about it? Or is this actually someone else's problem? And actually, I've got no part to play in this.
You can hand it off. Yeah.
And therefore, it's not my stress. Now, the moving house thing was a bit of a situation like that. It was like, actually, this is my problem, but it's also the other person's problem. And I was really, really careful not to go into rescue mode, and to make sure that the appropriate accountability and responsibility was placed with the other person. And things got a little bit gnarly. But I was really clear. I wasn't horrible. I was just really boundaried and said, listen, this is the situation and you hold the power.
Yeah.
You need to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And if you don't do what you need to do, then we will stay stuck.
And that's really important, right? Is for those that struggle with that. And I think we all struggle with these kind of learned behaviors. And when we're alcohol free, we can recognize them, is writing it down. Literally, what is my role in this? What is somebody else's role? Always go back to writing it down. And what can I control here? What is outside my control? But it is really important, like, what is my role? What can I take responsibility for? And what do I hand off? What do I not step into rescue other people? And if I do, why am I doing that? Does that make me feel good? Or, you know, what is it? Or do I feel obligated? Is it out fear, obligation, guilt?
And being able to apply that to our own role in drinking or not drinking. You know, that, and I know we've spoken a bit about that before, but okay, addiction is addiction, but what do I actually do within that to keep myself stuck in that situation?
It's interesting. My kids, I mean, from everything we've been through, I don't know about your kids, my kids are good at calling me out on my bullshit. I always feel like if I ever complain about anything, they're like, you could make a change there. Because I'm so often saying that to other people, like, you actually hold the power here to make a change. And then they're like, yeah. I'm like, God damn it, kids. Keep testing kids. Feeding me back my own words. Okay, so boundaries, knowing what is your responsibility, what's not your responsibility. For anyone, actually, I love lists. I read a really great book last year, and I think it was called the To Don't list. And I use that app.
I'll write that down, Ellen.
Write it down. I bought it when I was in Holland. I think it's written by Dutch people. It's like this real pragmatic approach to, for creatives, time management for creatives, I think it was called. And there's a to-don't list. It's actually an app that you can have a complete brain dump on. So you can write everything down that you need to do, but it only has 3 things in your to-do list. So once you've done those, you can mark them as done. It goes off as done, or you can say, actually, they're not priority. But it says about the brain can only really think about 3 things at the same time. But if we can get everything out of our brain and onto a list, then that's brilliant. So I use that at night time, like, okay.
Brain dumping is so good at night.
Brain dumping at night time to allow you to sleep, and then
so good.
3 things. Okay, today I'm going to achieve these 3 things. Great. And then things move up. It's not overwhelming. It's definitely a tool that I use. What about things like breath work, yoga, meditation?
It's that features so heavily in my early sobriety. Now it features, but I'm not having to make such a obvious kind of determined effort to do it. Now I'll just find myself, I'll be like, oh, are you breathing, Sarah? You know, whereas before, I can remember going to the gym in my early sobriety, and one of the instructors,
I remember the story,
came over to me and had made sure I wasn't dead.
I was just meditating.
It was so funny. I was so deeply, like, I wasn't asleep, but a couple of gym goers had said, I think she might be dead.
Fantastic.
Go on.
So we go back to my little cup. Okay, So we think about how full it is with things like boundaries, right? With not taking on other people's stuff, with not taking up, it sounds silly. So when I was super stressed, I made commitments to myself for 1 year not to paint my nails, not to get my nails done. Yeah. And it sounds so silly, but it just was something to me that if I painted my nails and then like I can't afford to get them done and then they're chipped and then I'm looking at them all the time thinking I really need to take this off, I really need to take them, and then I don't, and it just was like an added thing in my cup that I didn't have capacity for. I gave away my chickens because I couldn't, like, I have loads of animals and they went to a great home, but I just didn't have capacity for it. The situation I ended up in wasn't where I was when I got them, so I gave them away. I took certain things, even going out of the house to do yoga. I as much as yoga, brilliant, fantastic for stress resilience and stress relief, but just the factor of getting out of the house, driving, parking, that all felt too stressful at the time. So you can lower the amount of stuff that you're putting in your cup physically, like, okay, what can I take out? The other thing then, things like meditation, breath work, sleep, non-sleep deep breaths, they are, if you think of a tap on this, they are what starts to release some of the stress. So connection with great friends, right? We talk about radiators and drains, people that really light you up. They're great stress relievers. People even that have, in the darkest of times, can make you laugh, or just hold space for you while you cry or rant. They are great stress relievers. The people that drain you, not so much.
No, that's it's tricky.
Yeah.
I mean, that boundary stuff is really key to that. It's all the work is all intertwined, isn't it? You really can't have one without the other. The other aspect of it all. Now stress is a motivator for me. It's a driver.
That's that sweet spot of stress.
Yeah. Not to say, I mean, in the midst of the move, the next day after the internet got installed, I had a bloody job interview. So I was like, but ordinarily, I may have spent 5 or 6 days like really feeling very overwhelmed, doing lots of preparation, etc. I couldn't do any of those things, and all of my ID documents were packed, and I was like, oh my god, I've got to upload them all onto my application, and I didn't on the internet until the Monday evening, and the interview was first thing on the Tuesday morning, and I just thought, it's going to be okay. Just you can't do anything about the fact that your documents are packed, except from unpack them. However, it's 90 boxes behind the one box that you don't need, so you're not going to get them. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And that's not about complacency. That is about acceptance. Maybe, and had I have known that the move was going to happen and the interview was going to be 9 o'clock the next day, or, I would probably not have gone for the job. I would have said, or I might have taken a later interview or any of those things. So I just accepted the fact that this is poor timing, unfortunately.
Well, and that's it. I think you talked about acceptance. I think perspective is my key word that I always use, is like the perspective of, can I shift perspective on things? Some things, when we look at them on a real micro level, look massive, don't they? We can get caught up in the, why did I do this? This is a stupid idea. Having this book, whatever. But if we can zoom out and look at it as a greater thing, well, if nothing else, I get the experience of the interview. If I don't get the job, then that's fine, and it's understandable because of the situation that I'm in. I'm not my best prepared, but I'm going to go for it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So I went in and got the job, which was
of course you did.
Because I wasn't stressing about it, but I wasn't stressing about it.
It's quite an interesting thing, because talking, and my kids, the 2 girls are going through exams at the moment. I'm a stress resilience coach as well. I love this work, and we talk about it in the house all the time. And Anais, which she said, she realised that a lot of the work for the exams is not the work, it's managing stress. And she was like, if you're not anxious when you go in there, and Eliza did the same. She's like, actually, if you can look at it in a completely different way, and it's just another evaluation, and you're not panicking, you're not anxious about it, and like, yeah, it's perspective and knowing that you've got capacity for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that you can think of? Walking was my other thing, by the way, for stress. Being outside in nature and some quiet time, because lots of the time, and switching notifications off. I stopped wearing my Apple Watch with regards to stress resilience. I started wearing my Book Watch, which I absolutely love, but my Apple Watch just, I know I could have gone in and switched the notifications off, but it just felt too overwhelming all the time. And yet archiving chats, switching notifications off, and not watching the news. I know that seems really difficult in a world where it feels like the world is falling apart, but as a human, we are not meant to take on the stresses of the world, just what's around us. So it's like staying informed, but also protecting ourselves, boundarying ourselves, if that's even a word.
It's now.
It is now. Right, lovely, Sarah. It has been lovely to see you again this week.
And you.
Congratulations on your new home. And we will be back next week.
Yep.
Yeah, great. Okay, we will come up with a new subject. If anybody has a subject that they want us to cover, then by all means reach out. If you have any questions for Sarah and I, you can message either one. And we will post this to our walls so that you can watch it if you haven't had a chance to catch up today.
Great.
Okay.
See you, darling.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.